Have you ever stopped to think that some things we say, thinking we're being honest, are really just our ego disguised as authenticity? Worse yet, these phrases often sabotage our image, balance, and even our relationships. While many speak without filter, emotionally intelligent people learn to choose their words carefully, or stay silent when the world expects a reaction. That's where real strength lies. In this video, you'll discover 12 phrases that truly wise and emotionally strong people avoid at all costs. This isn't about looking smart. It's about mastering your mind, elevating your communication, and building respect without shouting for it. Together, we'll dive into the Stoic philosophy of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, and learn how your choice of words can transform your life from the inside out. Before we start, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this with that friend who talks too much, and comment below, which phrase do you hear the most and feel it's time to leave behind? Because what you're about to hear might open your mind and shut your mouth in the best way possible. There's an invisible strength in the words we choose not to say. Stoic philosophy teaches that silence isn't just the absence of sound, it's the presence of mind. While many speak to fill the void, emotionally intelligent people use silence as a lens of perception. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Not to the world," and in that introspective habit lies ancient wisdom. Speaking less and observing more isn't withdrawal. It's a strategy of mental mastery. Imagine a room where everyone is arguing and one person listens attentively. That person is often the wisest. Wise people don't interrupt, they interpret. They know that those who talk too much often reveal too much. Insecurity, haste, inflated ego. A Stoic doesn't surrender to impulse. He trains emotional control not just to avoid conflict, but to understand before reacting. And in today's world, that's real power. Silence, when well practiced, reveals emotional intelligence and self-discipline. In business meetings, for example, the one who speaks last is usually the one who listened most, processed best, and delivered with greater impact. Applying this is simple. Before responding, breathe. Count to 3, observe the context. That small space between stimulus and response is where freedom is born. Epictetus spoke deeply about this. Silence is emotional freedom. Many confuse speaking less with passivity, but they're not the same. The Stoic isn't absent, he's precise. He treats words like gold, reserved for when truly necessary. And this habit trains the brain to avoid impulsive reactions, essential for those who want to stay calm in stressful situations. In a family argument, for example, a calm, steady look may diffuse the tension better than 1,000 justifications. In the digital age, where everyone wants to express everything, wisdom lies in remaining silent. You don't need to respond to every comment or post your entire life to stories. That's not authenticity. It's a craving for validation. Stoic philosophy teaches that true inner peace begins when you stop trying to prove anything to anyone. Seneca said, "If you wish to be respected, start by respecting yourself, including your silence." Here's the secret most people miss. The less you talk, the more you listen. And the more you listen, the more you understand. And it's by understanding that the Stoic starts to stand out. Because unlike the indifferent, he doesn't ignore. He chooses what's worthy of his attention. But that kind of discernment becomes even clearer when we look at the common trap behind the phrase, "That's not my problem." When someone says, "That's not my problem," it might sound like emotional protection. But behind that apparent strength, there's often avoidance. Stoic philosophy doesn't teach us to carry the world on our backs, but it also doesn't teach us to turn our backs on it. True wisdom is in recognizing what is our duty and fulfilling it, not out of obligation but out of character. Marcus Aurelius faced wars and crises and never said, "Not my problem." That phrase may seem harmless, but it reveals a lack of empathy. Saying things like, "I don't care," or "let them deal with it," shows not strength but emotional laziness. Stoicism invites deeper reflection. Is ignoring someone else's problem just a way of avoiding your own? Emotionally mature people practice presence, not drama. They help, not because they're obligated, but because they choose to live with virtue. Here's a practical example. At work, you see a colleague clearly overwhelmed. Saying, "Not my job," is easy. But what if you offered help with a small task? That simple gesture might not only improve the workplace environment, but strengthen professional bonds. And strengthening relationships is a form of personal development. The Stoic doesn't run, he filters, and then acts with purpose. Of course, there are limits. Emotional control also means knowing when to not get involved, but there's a big difference between wise boundaries and cold detachment. Ancient wisdom teaches us that constant indifference can slowly erode our humanity. Those who always say, "not my problem," often hear the same when they finally need help. Life mirrors what we offer, sooner or later. Seneca wrote that the wise care, but don't despair. They don't try to solve everything, but also don't hide behind emotional walls. Self-discipline means knowing when to act and when to observe. But when life puts someone in your path asking for help, the Stoic asks himself, is this the right time to reach out? And if it is, he does. Calmly, freely, virtuously. At the core, "that's not my problem," reflects someone who hasn't yet understood the power of true presence. And presence is more than being around, it's connection. But this disconnect often leads to a habit even more harmful, speaking about others as if it would heal what's lacking within. Those who constantly talk about others usually reveal more about themselves. Stoic philosophy teaches that a loose tongue is a sign of an undisciplined mind. When someone gossips, they're not just talking, they're projecting. Behind every hasty judgment is a poorly hidden attempt to feel superior. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." And that holds especially true when you're tempted to speak poorly of others. The truth is, criticism often masks a lack of purpose. When the mind lacks direction, it seeks distraction, and gossip is the cheapest form. People with self-discipline focus on self-improvement. They don't waste energy on what others are doing or not doing, because that kind of talk is like walking through quicksand. The more you say, the deeper you sink into your own ego. Here's a simple example. Instead of saying someone dresses badly, ask yourself, how does that actually affect my life? That one question is a powerful exercise in perception. The Stoic doesn't react to what he cannot control, and other people's style is far beyond his jurisdiction. That kind of mental discipline strengthens your mind and protects you from being infected by others' negativity. Seneca said we should treat everyone as if the gods were watching us. That doesn't mean being perfect. It means cultivating constant awareness. When you see someone fall, don't criticize. Learn. Because tomorrow it could be you on the ground, and in that moment, you'll want someone to reach out, not someone spreading your story in group chats. That's ancient wisdom for a modern world. Feeding gossip is like watering a weed. You think you're just having fun, but you're poisoning the soil of your own relationships. Emotionally intelligent people know how to ignore negativity without being rude. They change the subject, exit gracefully, or, when needed, confront it with quiet firmness. Emotional control requires moral courage too, and the real problem isn't just in what's said, it's in what's thought. Judgment begins in the mind, and if the mind is already contaminated, the mouth will simply confirm it. But hiding behind "this is just how I am" is a dangerous way of disguising weakness as personality. "I'm just like that, period." At first glance, this phrase may sound like confidence in one's identity, but through the lens of Stoic philosophy, it reveals something else: rigidity. And rigidity isn't strength, it's fragility waiting to break. Emotionally intelligent people understand that growth requires change. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to affirm who he was. He wrote to remind himself of who he was becoming. Evolution demands humility, not stubbornness. Saying you won't change because that's how you are is like driving a car with a locked steering wheel. It might feel like you're in control until life throws a curve. Ancient wisdom reminds us that true authenticity isn't clinging to outdated patterns, but being honest about the need to shift. After all, if the world is constantly changing, why wouldn't you? Here's a practical example. Someone says they're naturally short-tempered and that others just have to accept it. But that's not authenticity. It's laziness disguised as personality. It's easier to justify behavior than to transform it. Stoicism teaches the opposite. That effort toward change is what builds true strength. Seneca said the soul is shaped like iron in the fire of discipline. Self-discipline begins with looking in the mirror without excuses, and "that's just how I am" often shows up when someone is avoiding that reflection. It's a defense mechanism from an ego that doesn't want to be challenged. But the Stoic knows that the real battle isn't being accepted by others. It's refusing to settle for who you are when you know you can be much more. Personal growth starts with the decision not to settle. And here's the irony: the more someone repeats that phrase, the more isolated they become, because people don't want to be around someone who refuses to adapt or grow. Emotionally wise individuals don't reject feedback. They evaluate it. They develop the power of perception to recognize what's worth adjusting, and they do it. No drama, no pride. Deep down, those who say, "that's just who I am," are trying to protect something. Maybe old wounds, maybe a fragile self-image. But the truth is, those who have the courage to change inspire others. And instead of throwing out threats like "you'll regret this," they earn respect with calm, quiet, and unwavering action. "You'll regret this" usually comes wrapped in anger and soaked in wounded ego. But behind that threatening tone is often a silent cry for attention. In Stoic philosophy, we learn that true strength lies in holding back the words that burn to be spoken in rage. The Stoic doesn't threaten. He walks away in silence, confident that inner peace is worth more than any attempt to cause pain. Real authority is quiet. When someone says this, they're often trying to regain control through fear. But emotional control isn't forced, it's earned. Telling someone they'll regret leaving is like shooting an arrow at someone already walking away. It only shows weakness, desperation, and lack of mental discipline. Marcus Aurelius taught that the best way to win is to keep moving forward without needing to hurt anyone. Picture a breakup, for example. Instead of wishing the other person pain, the emotionally intelligent turn that energy inward. They hit the gym, start reading more, launch new projects, and they do it without posting cryptic quotes or chasing revenge. That's active silence, the kind that leads to transformation. Want to stop overreacting? Replace impulsive words with strategic action. Threats only work on those still ruled by ego. Stoicism teaches that true respect isn't demanded, it's earned through consistency. Saying "you'll regret this" might intimidate someone briefly, but it damages credibility in the long run. Emotionally mature people know it's far more powerful to remain calm under pressure and let time reveal the truth. Seneca reminds us that every burst of anger must be filtered through reason before it becomes action. If it's not, better not to act. Even better, don't speak. Threatening language doesn't convince, it repels, and the distance it creates is the opposite of what the speaker intended. The result, isolation and regret from the one who made the threat in the first place. That's why the Stoic chooses a different path. He doesn't lash out, he steps back, observes, rebuilds. And in that quiet process of self-strengthening, he discovers something deeper. Not everything needs to be said, especially in a world already shouting. But what happens when that shouting becomes constant, especially on social media? Talking too much is like leaving your soul's door wide open for anyone passing by. And on social media, this is amplified. Every public outburst may feel like relief in the moment, but often reveals a craving disguised as authenticity. Stoic philosophy warns, not everything needs to be said, especially what hasn't been emotionally processed yet. Marcus Aurelius didn't write to impress. He wrote to calm his inner storm. Emotional oversharing isn't courage, it's lack of control. When the mind is agitated, the urge to speak becomes addictive. Posting vague messages, detailing fights, or broadcasting sadness in real time may feel liberating, but it deepens the need for external validation. The Stoic practices strategic silence instead. They speak with clarity, share with wisdom. Discretion becomes protection. A clear example, someone goes through a breakup and turns their profile into a journal of indirect posts. Things like, "they'll realize what they lost," or "one day the truth will hit," might get likes, but lose respect. Seneca taught that those with true inner peace don't need to declare it to the world. They simply live it, and that calm becomes visible on its own. And in real life, same logic. Telling everyone everything turns your life into entertainment for others. Emotionally intelligent people choose carefully who they confide in. They understand that words gain value when they're rare. That's perception power, realizing that not everything you feel needs to be shared. Some wounds need silence, not an audience. Self-discipline shows in the ability to hold back what's still in progress. Not every plan needs an announcement. Not every conflict needs disclosure. Sharing everything is like planting seeds in shallow soil. They won't root. The Stoic prefers depth. He builds in silence and blooms when the time is right. That's how you remain calm under pressure. But oversharing has an even subtler cost. It breaks the link between word and action. And when your word loses weight, your promises become noise. That's where one of the most powerful emotional intelligence rules kicks in. Speak less and follow through more. Making promises is easy. Keeping them takes character. In Stoic philosophy, the value of one's word is almost sacred. Emotionally intelligent people have learned that every "I will" is a silent contract with their own honor. Marcus Aurelius said that a virtuous man doesn't need to swear. He simply acts. The Stoic doesn't boast prematurely, nor does he try to convince others with promises. He proves through action. He delivers quietly. We live in an era where many speak well, but deliver little. This undermines not only others' trust, but also self-confidence. Every broken promise weakens one's sense of value. That's why anyone wanting to build mental strength and emotional control must practice coherence. Speaking less is the first step. Saying, "I'll try" is better than guaranteeing something you might not fulfill. Coherence starts with choosing your words carefully. A simple example, saying, "I'm going to change" after an argument. Saying it is easy. The real weight is waking up the next day and acting differently, without announcement or fuss. Self-discipline lives in these small, silent deliveries. To learn how not to get shaken by criticism, at least be someone who honors their word. Because words carry weight, or at least they should. Seneca teaches that true wisdom is measured by simplicity, and that includes what we say. The Stoic prefers "we'll see" to "I promise." He knows that actions speak louder than words. This kind of behavior earns respect, not because it shouts, but because it's rare. And in a world of empty promises, credibility is a superpower. Speaking less also protects against an inflated ego. People who promise too much are often more concerned with image than delivery. That's a trap. They start living to sustain loose words and lose freedom. The Stoic speaks what's necessary, does what's needed, and commits only to what he can deliver. He prefers to be underestimated and surprised, rather than the opposite. Curiously, this practice creates a ripple effect. The more you keep your word, the more you trust yourself. And the more you trust, the less you need to explain. But even those with mental mastery can slip, especially when speaking in the heat of anger. Because it's then that even the wisest can regret what they said. Anger speaks loudly, and when unfiltered, it speaks for you. Stoic philosophy teaches that true power lies in holding back words the moment they want to escape in fury. Marcus Aurelius wrote that every impulse must be questioned before acting on it. This is doubly true for anger, because most of the time, what is said in anger isn't what you think, it's what you feel, and distorted. Speaking in the heat of the moment is like trying to write a contract with trembling hands. It will come out crooked. And the cost of that distortion can be high. Broken relationships, deep regrets, closed doors. The emotionally intelligent learn to breathe before reacting. Sometimes the best answer is temporary silence, not weakness, wisdom. Emotional control at these moments is an invisible act of strength. Here's a practical example. Imagine a family fight. Instead of matching fire with fire, the Stoic breathes, says they'd rather talk later, and steps away. It seems simple, and it is. But that kind of response requires constant resilience training. How to stop overreacting. Train the mental filter that transforms impulse into thoughtfulness. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Seneca said anger is brief madness. And like all madness, it must be contained. The problem today is, many think it's cool to be brutally honest, when in fact they're just rude and out of control. Ancient wisdom teaches that filtering emotions before turning them into words isn't pretending, it's emotional maturity. It means knowing that it's not just about what you want to say, but how it will be received. The self-discipline to stay silent when everything inside wants to scream is one of the greatest expressions of inner peace. This doesn't mean swallowing everything. It means digesting before speaking. When you give yourself that time, what comes out isn't poison. It's guidance. It's clarity. And those who develop this mental mastery gain not only respect but peace. And peace in this noisy world is the privilege of the wise. At the end of it all, those who apply these Stoic rules begin to see life with new eyes, not as a battlefield to win arguments, but as a training ground to conquer oneself. And now that you know these 12 things emotionally intelligent people never say, it's time to show you from the start why all of this is so transformational. Now that you've discovered the 12 things emotionally intelligent people never say, the question is, how many of these phrases still sneak into your vocabulary? Because understanding is not enough, you need to apply. Every angry word, every empty promise, every unnecessary criticism builds or destroys the image others have of you. More importantly, it shapes how you see yourself. Stoic philosophy isn't just a set of nice sayings, it's a call to transformation. And if you've made it this far, part of you is already ready to change. So answer honestly, have you been speaking to hurt or to build? Do your words heal or fuel conflicts? Think about it. Wisdom begins when you stop justifying yourself and start observing yourself. Now tell me in the comments, which of these habits do you most need to eliminate? Which phrase have you said before but vow never to repeat? I want to hear from you. If this content resonated with you, please like, share with someone who needs this, and subscribe to the channel. Because here, every video is a step forward in your journey of self-mastery, mental control, and emotional strength.